Welcome to the Bee Hive, to all the kind stitchers in the world. Yes, I believe there are more kind people than not. And today I am going to not only do the next row 4 of the Tannenbaum SAL. I'm going to do a little chit-chatting here, but while I am chit-chatting, I remembered that the last time I sewed a row, I kind of felt like my machine was a little not running perfectly, and I suspected it was because it was dirty. And so I have taken it apart, and I am going to clean it out. And oh my gosh, look at that. Look at that fuzz. Holy moly. I'm using an old crochet hook of my mother's. And I'm getting all this fuzz out. But I'm wondering how your life is going, how days are going. I hope I've talked to some of you that you've had surgeries going on, and that those are now behind you. It just seems like lately we have had a lot going on with people we know, and oh God, this is like, holy moly, can you see that fuzz? Lint. I guess it's not fuzz, it's lint. No wonder it was sounding kind of funny. Yeah, and the other thing I use, I'm going to kind of miss this. I'm going to have to buy these on my own. I used to like to go into shop at Quilt Works, but it has closed because every time you bought something, they put one of these pipe cleaners. And who would have thought we'd be using pipe cleaners to clean our sewing machines, but boy does it work. Yeah. So maybe it'll run a little bit better. We live in a very dusty area. We're in the high desert, and if the wind gets blowing, you wouldn't think, because we're in the mountains too, but this is the high desert. Much like Flagstaff, Arizona, actually in South Dakota, we ran into a high desert. But you have your pine trees, you have your snow, and you also have your dust. And boy, it's almost impossible to keep up on the dust. Holy moly. And truly, the only reason I dust is because G has sinus problems and I have allergies. So I try to keep up on that. But I guess it's a good thing to occasionally clean your Look at the dust that's accumulated on that. To clean the dust out of that, out of your sewing machine, and to maybe change your needle. I can't even remember the last time I cleaned my needle. Yeah. But these pipe cleaners really work well. So the Tannenbaum So Long's coming along well, and I spent this morning actually looking for the next sew-along I want to do, and that is Kathy Schmidt's Eastmoreland. And I'm going to be starting that in January, and you can go online and go to her shop and get the pattern and the fabrics probably, or you can just Google and find out who's carrying the kit. I actually got the kit from her, so I know she had them, and I just love her stuff. Not only is she an absolutely lovely person. She is very talented, and I've always been attracted to her stuff. And so I saw this and said, yes, please. Holy moly. It's almost embarrassing to show this. And so, what happened though, I announced it on Instagram. I haven't responded to everybody yet, but I will. And I just kind of put a nibble out there. I'm going to do this. And the response was very encouraging. What I'm finding is when I am doing these things along with you, I am very grateful that because I feel encouraged to keep going, you know, and not have it a UFO. So like this Tannenbaum so long has been wonderful for me because I feel connected to you, and so I want to do the next row, and I make time for that rather than put it in a project box and forget about it. So I'm thinking the sew-alongs are a good tool, not only for me, but those of you who want to do this. Okay, so there's my big ball of fuzz. Holy moly. And I might save that for one more cleaning. Oops. So but the problem was I couldn't find my kit. So then I had to clean the Bee Hive. Isn't that the way? So I had to clean the Bee Hive so that I could find the kit so that I could be ready for the sew-along. And let's see if this is going to fit in there. Yep, it's in there perfect. And so I had to pick up the Bee Hive this morning, and I found it. And then I decided, well, since we're starting this in January, we're not making ourselves stressed out. I will be on the road by the time we start this. And look at happy stitching from Kathy when I ordered my kit. Isn't that sweet? And it came with everything, even the kit came with the pearl cottons and the buttons and the little charm pack. But truly, this pattern, of course I love everything with houses. This pattern is just appeals to me. It's like my old neighborhood when I was growing up. Little boxes, little boxes. Little boxes made of ticky-tacky. There's a red one and a blue one, and they all look just the same. Yeah, so I decided I needed to get it ready to go, even though it's a long time till we go. Still, we have the holidays, but I wanted to make sure that I had everything I needed for it, and so I found this empty lunch pail. So my stitch along, which we will start in January, will be coming with me. And I wanted to do another holiday project like I had time for that, but you know, nothing says the holidays like buttermilk basin. And I had picked this little adorable metal frame and star from Buttermilk Basin, and you can get these on her website or call up the shop. But see, it's a little easel and a little tin star with a little clip, and then you make the little star out of wool. Isn't that adorable? And you clip it to the front of the star. Well, I'm thinking that my little grandson needs some decoration, so although this is pretty sharp, but maybe his mom will put it on the fireplace. So I want to do something holiday-ish. But now let's get this sewing machine back together. And oh, where's my plate? Oh, there it is. And let's do some sewing. Gosh, it's kind of like my sewing machine got a little shower. It's all clean. I love, you can't see it here. Well, maybe I'll bring you around here a bit. Sorry if you get dizzy. But you see, this here is a metal knife strip that I bought from IKEA. And this is where I hang all my tools. And then I have a metal strip from IKEA too that has all these spice tins, and I have you know, my clips and my rotary blades and some extra bobbins in there. So it's real convenient to my sewing machine. Yeah, so okay. Now we are ready to, oh, we got to put our little gewgaws back on, my little minions, little plant that G bought me, and my little whale. So you see here, I have my friends with me here. They're always on my sewing machine. Oops, I'm a little bit crooked. Okay. So I wanted to share, I started cutting out my pieces for row 4, and you have to pay attention. You really have to pay attention to the cutting instructions because, and I love having this colored, very clear color picture of the pattern. So when I look at the colored picture, it says cut 12 red half-square triangles, 12 light half-square triangles, 12 green half-square triangles. And you just arbitrarily think, okay, I'm going to cut some lights, reds, and greens. But in reality, if you look at this photograph, unless you want it extremely scrappy, you have to cut 2 of the squares out of the same fabric before you cut the half square triangle. So just be cognizant of that, you really want to, if you want it to not be super scrappy, you're going to want to do that. And then I'm going to go ahead and lay it out so that I can see what it's going to look like. I have found with this pattern that I really prefer to lay out my row and work that way. And it could be because it's been a while since I actually did some what I would call intensive piecing, and I always had an issue with directions reading them, so this way I have less of a chance of making a mistake. So I'm going to go ahead and lay it out. As you can see, it's a good thing I'm laying them out because I'm getting all confused. I definitely needed to lay them out to get an idea of what I wanted it to look like, especially on this directional fabric over here, this green directional fabric. I'm like thinking that, ooh, well, it kind of goes around the corner. And then I noticed that actually this corner flips like this. So I don't want these two fabrics to be together. So I am going to move this around like that to make it a little scrappy. And take this one off of here, and it goes down here. And then this one goes over here. Yeah, so you just have to decide how scrappy you want it and how much the directional fabrics drive you crazy. And if they drive you crazy, then you can cut out extra pieces. And now we begin to sew. You know, if you're concerned about having it totally lined up perfectly, you can kind of finger press these squares and you can find the center, and then just make sure that this half square triangle point is in the center. And again, I am putting a scant 1/4 inch, and I just set it on the program in the sewing machine. And I'm going to be chain piecing. I also, with this particular block, am not going to press until I get the block together, and then I'll press it. In the meantime, I'm just finger pressing. I might go ahead and press as I get each half square triangle on the, fully on the square. That might be a good idea. So I got my first 3 little squares done, and now I'm moving on to the next half square triangles. I did press them once I had them all sewn together. And again, with this next step, I'm going to chain piece. And I'm able to do that because I have it laid out and I know exactly where each piece goes. Well, we're coming around the corner. And the way I am going to sew these last half square triangles onto these end pieces is I'm going to do opposite sides and then this half square triangle in. So I'm going to go ahead and start sewing. And I haven't been pinning because I can eyeball pretty darn good the center, but I think at this point I shall do that. So the way I'm going to make sure I get this last piece centered is I'm going to put my ruler, find the center of the rose colored, and make sure that the point on my green is going through that. Boy, I eyeballed that pretty good, but I'm going to go ahead and pin it just at that point. And at this point, I am not going to chain piece. I'm going to do it a block at a time. But I am still finger pressing. So that goes there. Whew. Oh, I see. Goes like that. You see how I'm turning it around? I've got to see how it goes. That's why I like to lay it out. Okay, so I'm doing this side now. If I really wanted to make sure I didn't cut off my points at all, I would flip it over so that I could see where my seam was going through. My thread cutter's not working very well. Somehow flip that, but that's okay. Pressed my squares, and now I am pinning them together because I really want them to be the points to be fairly decent. Fairly. Not perfect, but fairly. And then once I get my blocks here together, I am going to press this last seam open. Yes, I'm ready to press the seam open. Row 4 is done, and it looks beautiful. I can't stress enough how important it was for me to lay those blocks out. I don't know whether it's that I get too distracted or that instructions are a little challenging for me, but laying the blocks out before I sew them has probably saved me a whole lot of aggravation. And I am loving how it's turning out. I think I deserve a treat, and I received these from my friend Becky, and she does those beautiful cards, and I was gonna save them for my grandson when he comes, but I'm thinking maybe this one that says Merry Christmas on it, but the trick-or-treat one, I think I deserve it. Yeah, so I'm gonna have a treat. Stay tuned. Row 5 is the applique row. And don't forget, for those that are following along on this, check out the laundry basket site, because I believe row 5 was one of those rows that had an adjustment to the pattern instructions. So pay close attention to that. In the meantime, thank you for keeping me on task with this sew along, and I am totally enjoying it. For those of you that have not decided to make this, maybe this is making you want to. And for the rest of you, thank you for the encouragement. See you in the next video.
Thanks for watching.
And be sure to like and subscribe on Quilt Roadies.